Hello everyone. Today I am going to explain you chapter 3 Atoms and Molecules of class 9 Science. Ancient Indian and Greek philosophers have always wondered about the unknown and the unseen form of matter. They wondered what these matters were, what they were made of, and how small they were. The idea of divisibility of matter was considered much long back in India around 500 BC. An Indian philosopher Maharishi Kannad he postulated that if we go on dividing matter, we will get smaller and smaller particles, and finally we will reach such a stage that this matter cannot be further divided. And he named these particles as Pramanu. Another Indian philosopher, Pakuda Katiyama, elaborated this doctrine, this concept, and said that these particles normally exist in a combined form which gives us various forms of matter. So Maharishi Kannad, what he had told, that the particles of matter are made up of very small thing. Those small thing, we called it as Pramanu, and it cannot be further divided. But this another philosopher, Indian philosopher, he told that these small particles are the one that make up various forms of matter by combining themselves. For example, these molecules are made up by the combination of these atoms, these Pramanu. Around the same era, ancient Greek philosopher Democritus and Lysippus, what they did, they suggested that if we go on dividing matter, a stage will come when particles obtained cannot be divided further. And Democritus called these individual particles as atoms. Atom is a Greek word which means indivisible. All this was based on the philosophical considerations and not much experimental work till 18th century. Why? Because the earlier scientists, whatever they told, they had not told after performing so many experiments. They had just told on the philosophical considerations. By the end of the 18th century, scientists recognized the difference between the elements and the compounds, and naturally they became interested in finding out how and why elements combine and what happens when they combine. Antoine Lavoisier, he laid the foundation of the chemical sciences by establishing two important laws of chemical combination. And these two laws of chemical combination, we call them as a law of constant proportion and the law of conservation of mass, or a law of conservation of matter. First we will see about the law of conservation of mass. For this we will perform an activity. Here activity is given to us to perform, that is activity 3.1. We will take here it is given three sets are given to us. We will take any one set of them. Suppose I will take first one, copper sulfate and sodium carbonate, one case only. So what I will do, I will take a conical flask as shown in the diagram here. And in the conical flask, I will take solution of sodium carbonate. Another test tube I will take, ignition test tube. In that test tube I will take some amount of copper sulfate. I will tie a thread to the mouth of this ignition tube, and slowly I will allow the test tube to land inside the conical flask. The thread of the test tube should be out, and we will close the mouth of the conical flask with the help of a cork. Then what we will do, we will find out the weight of this whole apparatus along with the two solutions, one in the conical flask, another one in the test tube. When we have worked out, we will write it down, note it down somewhere in our copy or notebook. And then again what we will do, slowly we will open the cork from the mouth. We will remove the cork from here, this place, and we will make the thread loose. And then what we will do, when we will do this, the test tube will get much closer towards the base of the conical flask, and then the chemical which is in the test tube will get mixed with the solution in the test tube Y, as shown in this diagram above you can see. And then we will let it for few minutes. After few minutes, when we have tilted this this test tube in the conical flask, what we will do, we will close the mouth again with the cork. This cork we will put it down. This cork we will put inside the conical flask. And then what we will do, we will let the reaction to take place. After 2-3 minutes, we will again wake the whole apparatus along with the both solutions. What we had noted down the weight, again we will try to match it what we have got just now. What we will observe? We will observe that what was the weight before the experiment, and now after the experiment, after the reaction has taken place, after we have mixed both of these in this one test tube one and this conical flask one chemicals, the weight are equal. So this activity proves that before the chemical reaction, what was the mass? Same is the mass, same is the weight after the chemical reaction. Thus, this activity proves that matter can neither be created nor can be destroyed in a chemical reaction. The total mass of the reactants and the total mass of the products remains the same. Thus, it satisfies the law of conservation of mass. This is what the law of conservation of mass states. So again I am repeating, law of conservation of mass states that mass can neither be created nor destroyed in a chemical reaction. Now we will start the second page of this chapter. Here we are told about the law of constant proportions. Lavoisier, along with the other scientists, noted that many compounds were composed of two or more elements, and each of such compounds had the same elements in the same proportion, irrespective of where the compound came from or who prepared it. For example, it came into their mind that if we take water from any part of the world, then water is made up of hydrogen and oxygen only. And this water, one molecule of water is made up of 2 atoms of hydrogen and 1 atom of oxygen. On the basis of experiments what they performed to find out about the mass of hydrogen and oxygen, they found out that this water consisted of 1:8 ratio by mass of hydrogen is to oxygen. That means hydrogen and oxygen in water was in the ratio of 1:8 in each molecule of water. Thus, if 9 gram of water was decomposed, if 9 gram of water was decomposed, then there was 1 gram of hydrogen and 8 gram of oxygen. Always it was obtained. So similarly, when they took the case of ammonia, they found out that ammonia was made up of nitrogen and hydrogen in the ratio of 14:3. And when they took ammonia from different parts of the world, everywhere they found that from wherever they took, the ammonia was made up of hydrogen and nitrogen only. And the ratio of nitrogen and hydrogen was 14:3 for everywhere's ammonia. That means whatever was the method or from whichever place they took ammonia, the ratio of nitrogen to hydrogen was 14:3. So when they checked out these all, they came to the conclusion, the contemporary scientists, that means the scientists who were of that time, as well as the Lavoisier, they came to the conclusion that compound is made up of, a particular compound is made up of same kind of atoms, and they are made up of same ratio by mass. So they gave us one law, and that law we call it as the law of constant proportion. In that law it is told that in a chemical substance the elements are always present in a definite proportion by mass. In a chemical substance the elements are always present in a definite proportion by mass. If we change the proportion, then a new compound will be formed. For example, if the proportion was changed, then instead of making water, it would make hydrogen peroxide. Similarly, when certain ratio carbon and oxygen is taken, then it makes carbon monoxide. When again the amount of oxygen is increased, it makes carbon dioxide. So this conclusion was given by our scientists of that time, that chemical substances are made up of different kind of elements, but a particular compound is made up of same kind of atom and same proportion by mass. But when they have found out this, the next problem faced by the scientists was to give appropriate explanation of these laws. So British chemist John Dalton provided the basic theory about the nature of matter. What did Dalton do? Dalton picked up the idea of divisibility of matter, which was till then just a philosophy. What I had told earlier in the last page, that these scientists, whatever they had given up on the basis of their philosophical consideration. They had not done experimental work. But what did John Dalton do? John Dalton, he picked up the idea of divisibility of matter. He took up that concept, and then what he told, he took the name of atom as was given by the Greeks and said that the smallest particles of matter are atoms. And his theory, which he had given, was based on these laws, both the laws, law of conservation of mass and law of constant proportion. And then he explained us what the scientists were unable to explain that time. John Dalton explained us about the various properties of atom, various ideas he gave us, various concepts he gave us, and then that we call it as the Dalton's atomic theory. In the Dalton's atomic theory, certain points have been put forward by him, and those points we call them as the postulates of Dalton's atomic theory. So let us consider one by one. Point number 1, as you can see here, All matter is made up of very tiny particles called atoms. Atoms are indivisible particles which cannot be created or destroyed in a chemical reaction. Atoms of given element are identical in mass and chemical properties. What did John Dalton tell? He told that atoms of given element are identical in mass and chemical properties. That means if I take an atom of hydrogen in India, an atom of hydrogen in America, and an atom of hydrogen in Japan, or any part of the world, then they will be identical in mass and chemical properties. John Dalton again he told next point that atoms of different elements have different masses and different chemical properties. That means he told that if I take an atom of hydrogen and I take an atom of oxygen, then these two atoms they are different from one another in terms of masses and in terms of other chemical properties. But we will study in the later part of the chapter this point number 3 and point number 4 was proved to be wrong after the discovery of isotopes and isobars. In point number 5, John Dalton had told that atoms combine in a ratio of a small whole number to form compounds. That means it is not that the atoms will combine in a fraction. That means suppose here we are given that ratio will be of hydrogen and oxygen. That means two atoms of hydrogen combine in one atom of oxygen to form water. It is not that you will write that one hydrogen atom combined with half oxygen atom. No, we will not say in fraction. We will always have to take in a whole number, a small whole number, ratio of a small whole number to form compounds. Point number 6, he had told that the relative number and the kind of atoms are constant in a given compound. That means in a particular compound, the number of atoms and the kind of atoms is always the same. For example, let me again take the example of water only. That means anywhere in this world, the scientists will prepare water molecule, then they will have to take hydrogen and oxygen only. It is not that in India, scientists will make water by combining hydrogen and oxygen, and in America, they will make water molecule by combining nitrogen and oxygen. No. You can write any one of these points first, no problem. Only you have to memorize, you have to understand and learn these 6 postulates of Dalton's atomic theory. Now let us see in this box what has been given to us about John Dalton. John Dalton, he was born in a poor weaver's family in 1766 in England. And he began his career as a teacher at the age of 12. Just imagine, at the age of 12 he became a teacher. And after 7 years, that means at the age of 19, he became the principal of a school. And in 1793, John Dalton left for Manchester, a place there, it is in England only. He went to that place to teach mathematics and physics and chemistry in college. He spent most of his life there teaching and researching. And then in 1808, he presented his atomic theory, which we call it as Dalton's atomic theory.